Manjit ji, you're a very optimistic person. I've met you. I've had the good pleasure of interacting. You heard Rituraj say what he said. You heard Rajiv say that till now there have been no cuts. What are your opening remarks?
Anuragji, first of all, thank you very much for having us here, all of us, my dear friends. I get to see them a lot these days. And it's very heartening that a highly prestigious magazine like Business World is taking interest. And this is probably the first webinar of its kind that I'm participating in. So my compliments to you and thank you very much. There are actually three phases to all this. I think there is a before COVID, which we are used to. There will be a post-COVID, something like BC and AD. But right now, what we are going through is in the middle of that COVID. That period seems to be the most difficult one. We are fighting as I will not tell you more about the industry. Raj and Rajiv have already spoken about it. Let's just focus on the pandemic. It's a global pandemic. It's going to affect us in a very big way. It's here to stay. It's going to be there for a long time. I'm sure we've all been highly educated about the pandemic from what I love to call the University of WhatsApp. We get used to at least get a huge number of messages. But if you actually you come to know that this is something which is going to have a major impact on the world as we have known it in the past, and different world that we are going into. The only silver lining is going to be the only time when we probably really come out of it is when we both have the vaccine. With that, is hearing the Serum Institute people talk about it. They will probably have it in September or October. So let's look at November, December kind of a time frame when we would have vaccines going down to the last year. Coming to this industry, I think this industry has actually found its recognition in these unfortunate times through this pandemic. You'll be surprised that when everything else is shut down, everything literally, the only people you see on the road is either the police officers, and the only people you see is security guard. And not to forget that cleaning person who's still cleaning the premises. Otherwise, we would all have been living in really unhygienic environments.
Conditions.
So this industry has really been recognized in these sad times. It's something like the army being recognized in times of war. So this is literally a war. And the government, of course, will need to do a lot, but I think they have taken the right steps. I'm truly very happy and very impressed with what our government has done in these times. The steps taken by the government to do a lockdown at the proper time and contain this pandemic has truly been fantastic. It's best of the world. In this industry, like Raj and Rajiv told you, this is a very large industry. It's a huge contributor to the employment. It probably employs more people than any other sector besides agriculture in the country. And I'm sure post-COVID, there'll be a much larger role to play, though a very different one. First part will be, I think there will be more security required. Now, when you enter a premises, you'll need to ensure that there is somebody to check whether you sanitize your hands or were you wearing a mask, or somebody to even hold a basic thermometer and check whether your body temperature is high or low. I think that is going to become the new normal. Your body temperature to be checked. You don't want to get into an elevator where there are 4 other people standing and you're not even sure what they are, whether they are infected or not, or whether they've. And security will play a very important part of it. I think the sector will also rapidly transform. It's going to go through a very rapid transformation from just physical security to technology to remote monitoring. A lot of new things which we thought were much further, but now have suddenly come very. Also, a very large part of these sectors, the manpower outsourced sector, has been essentially unorganized sector. This will also push it towards becoming organized. You see a very rapid transformation for security sector to become and the facility management sector to become organized. What happens is whether work from home will be a more advantageous thing for companies, or as we love to hear from a lot of people that China suddenly industries shut down in China and overnight everybody will walk into India. I don't think it's happening that fast. We will have an advantage because of that, but it's not happening that fast. And supply chains don't get uprooted overnight. But eventually, this industry will become the support base, whether it's law and order or keeping, because the public to police ratio in our country is one of the lowest, and therefore security will play a very important part. Similarly, a lot of facilities which are required in any property, external and internal, will be provided by this industry. Coming
Right.
coming to our clients, I think very much like Rajiv, our clients have been highly supportive. It's really been uh, good to know a different type of a client. The client is actually more humane as we see him now than what he was earlier. Yes, certain sectors are really bearing the brunt of this, whether it's malls or cinema halls, which are shut down, and I don't think they're going to open for a long, long time. But overall, they've been very supportive.
Thank you, Manjit ji. I want to ask you a direct question. I want to keep this conversation as real. And the reason I'm not asking Rituraj very specific questions to his company is tomorrow SIS results come, so he will only speak on the industry. And you really three are the leading captains of the industry, and so to say, you represent the whole industry in some way. I want to ask you: has your company's revenues been impacted? If yes, by how much? Do you see revenues being impacted in the next 3 months? And one more add-on question. While you say that, will there be a change of focus for each of your companies to more automation at the facilities that you man, or you provide facilities management, or where you do hygiene sanitation? And second, what is the behavior change from the guards or the professionals that man those facilities? Manjit ji, first you, and then we'll go to Rituraj and Raji.
So Anuragji, starting from the first part of the question, our revenues in March and April have absolutely not been impacted. That is probably because the lockdown period in March was of a very short duration, and April is still a time when people are absolutely keen to open up very quickly, and we need our people to be there. Let's be in readiness. In fact, I've seen dozens of SOPs for post-lockdown scenarios. So far, revenues, I don't think of any of our companies is impacted. What we will need to wait and see is what happens in May and June, if there is a further lockdown, or if the lockdown opens up in phases. So, for example, certain sectors may not be able to open up. Travel industry may not start in the way it did earlier. That is when
airports may not be functional the way they are. There is a proposal that only T3 will open and T1 and T2 will be shut, as you're aware, and the lockdown could be extended till at least May 20th, if not more. And in states like Maharashtra, lockdown may go till June. So those are real possibilities. So there is no certainty. So do you see loss of revenue then?
I think that would not be rocket science to say that there will definitely be an impact on revenues if there is something happen. May also, I'm not truly worried about. I think it's beyond that I would worry. I think couple of months, no client is going to really restructure working just to ensure that they can save some money. But post May, yes, I would say logically there will definitely be some impact on revenue. How much? What quantum will depend on what people perceive as the longevity of this lockdown, or how long it will take for the phased lockdown. That is first part of the question. Automation. Automation is something that has been happening over the past, I would say, at least three odd years. It may have been happening 4 years back also, but not at that pace. But every year, if you look at it, it has been gaining momentum and gaining size. So remote monitoring, automation, more use of more sophisticated security is going to grow. There is no two ways about it. With COVID, it's probably going to accelerate faster. Without COVID,
right? Sure. And what is the behavioral change from the professionals in the front line? The guards, their supervisors. Is there a behavioral change, or in the way their SOP changing? Is there something worth mentioning on a webinar that can benefit everyone?
On Anuragji, on their on the personal front or on the behavioral front, I have a feeling that they have started because they are being respected more, they are being looked after more. People are saying that you are the person who's standing at the gate. I think they have gained a lot of self-respect. They've gained a lot of confidence. Security guard was literally that chowkidar standing at the door. Over the last few years, he's been accepted as a guard, but a necessary expenditure to have over there. In some cases, you're not even required. You just had him there because you wanted to have a guy in uniform there. It was a more a prestige symbol. Today, he's respected, he's required, you can't do without him. Complexes, colonies, anywhere you go, you really desperately need him. And I think the guard's behavioral changes, he's feeling more like a professional who's being respected.
Manjit, you are, while we can expect what the government has to do, what can the smaller and mid-sized players do themselves on cost, on revenues, on preparing themselves for the future? And there is an add-on question and ask Rituraj that, do you think the role of remote monitoring will grow? Will remote monitoring become even bigger than what it is? And second is, will the professional uh, uh, outsourced professional services professional will be more empowered post-COVID or least empowered? Will the empowerment of who are there in the front line grow up post-COVID or nothing changes? So first, what can these entrepreneurs or mid-sized service providers do themselves while they wait for whatever the government is to do? What can they do? What should they do?
And Ragji, globally, entrepreneur and more specifically in India is a person who really knows how to find his way out, and he's quite successful. Indian entrepreneurs are quite successful across for finding ways. Um, some of the things that a standard entrepreneur would do is reduce his cost. The little advantage that smaller companies would have is that their cost base or their cost to operate is also a bit lower than what it would be for us.
So do you advocate salary cuts? Say if it lasts beyond May, do you think security companies across the board, even the large ones like you, where you have manpower costs beyond guarding, I'm talking of management costs, do you envisage salary cuts? Do you suggest salary cuts so that you sustain in the long term?
I definitely would suggest salary cuts. It is, I think, and I think every employee would support that, because the survival of the organization or survival of the business is very important. If the business survives, the jobs will survive. If the business doesn't survive, there'll be no jobs left. The government has already been supportive. One, of course, they have given leeway that provident fund for companies which have less than 100 employees will be paid by the government. We have also taken it up with the government as FICCI for certain relaxations, which and some support that Rituraj just spoke about. Rent cost, salary reduction, talking to the clients and educating them that we are a 10-5-5 kind of a 90-5-5 kind of a company, which means essentially, like you rightly said in the beginning, 90% of our costs are direct costs, which are literally a pass through with us, and we are a 5 to 7 EBITDA percentage business across the world. So all the measures that a standard entrepreneur would take in any sector of reducing cost for the survival of the business should be taken by them. That's one. Two, automation. There is no doubt about it. This is kind of a given that automation will expand. It will expand at a phenomenal pace. Remote monitoring will become more a practice than a norm. Man guarding companies will move a lot to remote surveillance and more technology. Contactless security will also come in a very big way. You will be doing away with a new technology which till a year back you would have said it's a new technology. Biometric is now already become passe. So I think there will be a huge amount of move towards remote surveillance, automation, technology. And last part of your question, I strongly believe, and I think that's only right, that now that the security guard is finally being accepted and respected for what he does for us in these very critical times, I think in future that security guard would have much more confidence that person will be given much more respect than he was ever given in the past. And he will be definitely empowered, because it is at his level where the future of this pandemic remains to be stopped.